There is so much about history that we still don't know. From the pyramids to the oceans, much is still unknown. There is no greater mystery than that of ancient Egypt. What were these megalithic structures built for? What was their purpose? Mankind has sought to answer those questions for generations. Here are some of my ancient history theories. Hello Internet, my name is Ash, welcome to my channel. On today's episode we will be discussing the secrets of the Serapeum of Saqqara. The Serapeum of Saqqara is located northwest of the Pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara, also known as the City of the Dead. In case you don't know, Saqqara was part of the inspiration for Hamunaptra, the City of the Dead, Universal's 1999 remake, The Mummy, starring Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. City of the Dead is also the name of a level from the game Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. Saqqara is a necropolis or a sacred burial site. Modern academia dictates that this is the site where the dynastic Egyptians buried the giant apis bulls that they considered to be sacred. The dynastic Egyptians worshipped these sacred bulls because they believed that they were the reincarnation of the god Ptah. Similar to how the Hindu peoples believe that cows are sacred because they are the reincarnation of the goddess Kamadhanu. In 1850, Auguste Mariette and several other explorers archaically blasted their way into the Serapeum instead of finding the proper way to open the door. Typical. Inside, the explorers found a labyrinth carved into a mountain. Several corridors or hallways led to alcoves. Inside these alcoves were 24 giant granite sarcophagi with lids. Sarcophagus? Sarcophagi? Anyway. These giant boxes were carved with extreme precision. Each box is roughly 12.5 feet long, by about 7.5 feet wide, and almost 10 foot 6 inches tall. Each sarcophagus is carved with hieroglyphics, and contains 2 square holes carved into the side of each box. I believe you would have used heavy wooden beams or poles to remove and replace the lid on the sarcophagus, but again, just one of my theories. Each granite box weighs approximately 70 to 1,000 tons, and each lid weighs approximately 30 tons. As with many ancient sites, Saqqara has been discovered and rediscovered throughout history. 1850 was the most recent rediscovery. Each sarcophagus is carved with such precision that once the lid is placed on top, it hermetically seals whatever is inside. Essentially, the big stone box is airtight. Nothing can get in or out, be that a solid, a liquid, or a gas. Many theories surround Saqqara. The most popular, again, is being modern academia's stance that this was essentially the burial site for the giant sacred apis bulls. That's a plausible theory, but unlikely considering that the bodies of bulls that they have found mummified there happen to be of average size. So this theory is possible, but unlikely. Again, I say you don't build something that large without it having a functioning purpose or multiple beneficial functions. Another theory is that the site happens to be a sacred burial site for giant aliens, giant humanoids, or angels. Again, it's possible because you never know. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. But again, unlikely, nomenclature pending. Yet another theory is that this was the burial site of the ancient Egyptian gods, or these were their sleeping pods, or perhaps even their rejuvenation chambers. Again, possible, but unlikely. Although that does make a great story, and it's kind of similar to the premise behind the Immortals from the show The Protector on Netflix. If you haven't, check it out, it's a pretty cool show. Another theory is that these were rejuvenation chambers, where people would come to heal and prolong life. I like this theory. I like this theory a lot, actually. Although a bit fantastical, this theory to me, however, makes a little bit of sense and does tie into my theory, because I do believe that there is some truth to that. Another theory is that this site was a type of generator that was able to produce light for the ancients. During one of the cataclysmic events where the world was plunged into darkness due to a meteorite storm or some other obstruction of the sun. Again, this theory also does correlate with mine. There's also another theory that a combination of fermented gases, hermetically sealed inside of each sarcophagus, would produce an electric current. My theory does involve many of those previously stated. This site was sacred because it did produce many wonders. I do feel that when the site was active, it did produce a healing effect, which is why people pilgrimaged to the site. I do agree that Saqqara was a power plant in a sense. Another part of my theory is that the site did in fact give off light and generate an electric current. Essentially, yes, I believe that the ancient Egyptians, more likely the pre-dynastic Egyptians, did have a form of ancient wireless electricity. This is why we don't see burn marks from torches inside of ancient sites. Now allow me to explain the scientific process using what I like to call magical science. It's like magical realism, but with science. Now, Professor Konstantin Borisov of Mississippi University has theorized that if you take a combination of beer, bread, barley, and oxen, hermetically seal it inside of the sarcophagus, eventually the combination will begin to ferment and create a gas. That gas will create pressure inside the chamber, which will then cause the tiny crystals embedded into the granite to vibrate, thus ionizing the air above it and producing electricity. It would also give off a glow. This is also why the pyramids gave off a glow, but again, that is for a later video. Now, in combination with the fact that it produced light and it could produce an electric current, if you add water into the theory, the Egyptians were masters of irrigation. If they somehow had flowing water moving in and out of the site, that would help to move this wireless electric current from site to site. Flowing water was the key to their electricity, because as we know, through hydraulic power, you can use water to generate electricity. This was something the ancients had already known, they just did it on a massively complex level. So complex we still can't figure out today how they did it. So essentially the obelisks were transmitters, and they helped transmit that wireless energy from point to point. I do believe that the Saqqara site is connected to the Great Pyramids. I believe all of the pyramids would have had some type of sarcophagus with this mixture in it that was able to essentially generate electricity. In a later video, I'll explain my theory on how this relates to the pyramids. There is a lot that we don't know about history, and for one academic to say to another researcher or another academic that their beliefs are pseudoscience is asinine and ridiculous, because we simply don't know. There's so much about the world and our history that we don't know, and there's a lot that has been kept from us on purpose. I don't think they want this knowledge to get into the wrong hands. Even then, this type of knowledge is renewable energy. It's natural renewable energy where we wouldn't need nuclear power. But there again, the powers that be don't want to lose any money. Money talks and bullshit walks. Thank you all so much for sticking around, especially for the past 2 years. I promise you, much better things are coming on this channel. I'm in the process of setting up a Patreon account, which I will let you guys know, and the assistance, essentially so I can build my channel, build my brand, and bring more awesome content for you guys, and hopefully get a little bit of help. I'm elated that you guys have stuck with me for this long. Please continue to stand by. There is more great content coming for you. As always, if you would like to see me again, please click the like and subscribe button. Good night.